Welcome everyone to another episode of World Gone Weird. So much happening as always. Makes you wonder where to even start, right?
Start with the Apocalypse Bingo card, Otto. That's always a good baseline. See which squares we can tick off this week. I'm betting on biblical plague. There's always something brewing in the microbiome.
Maybe we should start with something a little less apocalyptic, Sarah. How about this potential grand bargain with China? I saw an article about Trump potentially easing up on NVIDIA chip restrictions to get concessions on rare earths. Seems a little transactional, even for him.
The premise that easing export controls to cultivate dependence constitutes a strategic triumph is dubious at best. Objective assessment requires a rigorous model accounting for potential long-term repercussions. Consider the possibility that this alleged addiction is merely a short-term illusion, and in the long run, China's indigenous development accelerates due to this policy. Such outcomes necessitate a reevaluation of the initial strategy.
Okay, well, that's interesting. I mean, finding some common ground with China could be a positive step, right? De-escalating tensions is always a good thing.
De-escalating? Otto, honey, this is Trump we're talking about. De-escalation for him probably means offering China a slightly less insulting deal than he did last week. A grand bargain is more like give us your lunch money and we'll only punch you once today.
Yeah, but is it really that bad? I mean, maybe he's onto something. We've been so focused on containing China that we've forgotten they control like 90% of the rare earth minerals we need for everything. Is forcing them to buy our chips a bad thing if it means we secure our supply chain?
The assertion that we're securing the supply chain requires validation. Is there empirical evidence demonstrating that a quid pro quo arrangement guarantees a stable and diversified supply? We need to evaluate the vulnerability of the entire supply network, accounting for logistical bottlenecks, geopolitical instability, and the potential for market manipulation. The inherent reliance on one nation can create vulnerabilities irrespective of trade agreements.
Yes, and wouldn't that supply chain also give us some leverage? I mean, if they're dependent on our chips, wouldn't they be less likely to, cause trouble?
Otto, you're adorable. Less likely to cause trouble? Have you seen the South China Sea lately? A few NVIDIA chips aren't going to stop a naval buildup. It's like trying to bribe a grizzly bear with a granola bar.
Okay, point taken. But the article does mention Trump's always been transactional. Remember when he wanted to buy Greenland? It's like he views international relations as one big real estate deal.
That analogy raises several key questions. Firstly, what quantifiable metrics are used to evaluate the efficacy of such transactional diplomacy? Secondly, does historical data support the assertion that real estate negotiation tactics are applicable to geopolitical scenarios with diverse cultural, political, and economic variables? Such a presupposition demands rigorous investigation rather than mere conjecture.
Well, yeah, but I mean, maybe that's just his way of, getting things done. Maybe it's unorthodox, but sometimes you need to shake things up, right?
Shaking things up? More like detonating a diplomatic hand grenade, Otto. Shaking things up requires a plan, not just randomly smashing things together and hoping for the best. Remember when he threatened to pull out of NATO unless they paid up? Effective diplomacy, that wasn't.
The Greenland thing, I still can't wrap my head around that. Did he seriously think Denmark would just sell it to us? Like it was some timeshare?
Such a proposal necessitates a careful assessment of historical precedents. Have successful cases of land acquisition through purely transactional means yielded long-term geopolitical advantages? Does the inherent economic potential of the territory justify the diplomatic cost and potential damage to international relations? Without a comprehensive feasibility analysis, such pronouncements are devoid of any substantive value.
Well, I think we can all agree a little stability would be welcome. What about this other article? The one about the Republican bill cutting funding for public broadcasting and foreign aid.
Ah yes, the old Star of the Beast routine. Classic Republican playbook. Cut funding for everything that helps people, then claim the government is too big.
But is public broadcasting really that essential? I mean, I haven't watched PBS since I was a kid. Are we really getting our money's worth?
That question necessitates quantitative analysis. What specific metrics indicate the net societal benefit derived from public broadcasting? These could include educational attainment levels, civic engagement rates, and access to cultural content for underserved communities. A rigorous cost-benefit assessment must be conducted, accounting for externalities that aren't immediately apparent.
I think it's essential, especially for rural areas. A lot of smaller towns rely on public broadcasting for local news and information. And what about Sesame Street? My kids learned so much from that show.
See? Otto gets it. Plus, where else are we going to get our pledge drive tote bags? Those things are collector's items.
Okay, but $9 billion is a lot of money. Maybe some of that could be better spent elsewhere. Like, I don't know, infrastructure?
The optimality of resource allocation hinges on a comparative analysis. Is there evidence demonstrating that diverting funds from public broadcasting and foreign aid to infrastructure projects yields a demonstrably higher return on investment, considering both economic and societal factors? This necessitates a systemic model that accounts for opportunity costs and long-term ripple effects.
I get that there's waste in government, but foreign aid? That's crucial for global stability. We can't just abandon countries in need. What message does that send?
It sends the message that America is tired of being the world's ATM, Otto. A very loud and very clear message to the entire planet. I mean, are we even sure that money is going where they claim it is?
Exactly. I've heard stories about foreign aid being siphoned off by corrupt officials. Is there any real accountability?
Determining accountability necessitates independent audits and verifiable performance indicators. Is there evidence demonstrating that the purported benefits of foreign aid initiatives are offset by corruption, mismanagement, or unintended consequences? The absence of rigorous oversight mechanisms undermines any claim of efficacy.
Okay, well, maybe there's room for reform, but cutting it entirely seems drastic. Especially these programs that fight famine and disease. How can you put a price on saving lives?
Easy. Republicans do it all the time. They just call it fiscal responsibility. It's a real talent how they can justify denying basic human rights.
It says here they're also targeting UNICEF. I thought everyone liked UNICEF.
This assertion requires qualification. What specific metrics are used to evaluate UNICEF's effectiveness in achieving its stated goals? Does the organization operate with demonstrable efficiency and transparency? A claim of universal approval must be substantiated with empirical data rather than relying on anecdotal evidence.
See? It's all about putting American taxpayers first, right? I don't know. It feels so short-sighted. Like we're retreating from the world.
Retreating. More like sprinting in the opposite direction. And towards what? Exactly. More tax cuts for the rich. Because that's always worked out so well for everyone else.
Speaking of retreating, did you see that article about Trump calling the Epstein stuff a hoax? Again?
Oh, honey, you just knew that was coming. When in doubt, scream hoax. It's Trump's version of the dog ate my homework.
The claim that the Epstein affair is a hoax suggests an underlying conspiracy theory. The epistemological validity of such claims necessitates a rigorous assessment of the evidence, or lack thereof. Are there discernible patterns of misinformation, disinformation, or logical fallacies that undermine the narrative? Absent a clear and consistent demonstration of factual inaccuracies, the burden of proof remains unfulfilled.
It's concerning, to say the least. I mean, even his supporters seem to be questioning him on this one. You'd think he'd want to clear the air, right?
Clear the air. With what, Otto? More conspiracy theories? That man couldn't clear a foggy mirror, let alone a scandal of this magnitude. Besides, remember, no matter how bad it seems, there's a tweet to defend.
But why? I mean, it seems like he's alienating his own base by not releasing information. Doesn't he realize that?
The assumption that Trump's actions are illogical presupposes a rational actor model. Is there empirical data to support the assertion that Trump's primary objective is maximizing support within his existing base? Alternate hypotheses such as deliberate obfuscation or manipulation of the narrative for alternative goals, merit consideration, and evaluation. Perhaps he's trying to control the flow of information to minimize potential damage.
I suppose. It's all so exhausting. One thing after another. How are we supposed to stay informed and engaged when it feels like we're constantly being bombarded with negativity?
That's the point, Otto. Overwhelm the masses with so much garbage, they just tune it all out, and then you can do whatever you want. Cynical? Absolutely. Effective? Sadly, also yes.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel that. I mean, I try to stay informed, but it's hard to know what to believe anymore. Everything's so polarized and politicized.
This perception of information saturation necessitates the application of critical thinking principles. Are individuals equipped with the cognitive tools necessary to differentiate between credible sources and misinformation? Does educational curricula adequately address media literacy and critical analysis skills? Without a robust framework for information evaluation, the signal-to-noise ratio becomes indistinguishable, leading to systemic confusion.
Well, that's a bit depressing. Is there anything good happening in the world?
Sure. My sourdough starter is thriving. Does that count as global progress? At least something is rising.
Hey, small victories, right? Maybe we should all just focus on our own little corners of the world and try to make a difference there.
A localized approach raises questions of scalability and systemic impact. Is there empirical evidence demonstrating that micro-level interventions, divorced from macro-level policy changes, can effectively address pervasive global challenges? A holistic approach necessitates a nuanced understanding of interconnected variables and a commitment to coordinated action.
That's a fair point. But I mean, it's better than doing nothing, right? Every little bit helps.
That's what I keep telling myself as I doom scroll through Twitter every night. Every little bit of outrage helps, until I fall asleep crying about it.
So what's the takeaway here? Trump's wheeling and dealing might not be as crazy as they seem. Public broadcasting is worth saving. And the Epstein case is still a giant black hole of unanswered questions.
The data are inconclusive. Further investigation is warranted across all aforementioned areas. A reliance on conjecture and emotional reasoning obfuscates objective assessment.
I guess that's as good a summary as any. Well, folks, thanks for tuning in to World Gone Weird. Until next week, stay informed, stay engaged, and try to find some joy in the chaos. And maybe bake some bread.
Or just drink heavily. Either way, we'll be here next week to dissect the next round of absurdity. Good night, everybody.